Any minute now it's gonna snap. Not gonna have to go to the gym tonight for arms. Oh no. Huh, fixed. Well, we got the Jimmy into the shop after a hard weekend of wheeling with this thing. I'm gonna do a quick walk around, show you everything that happened that day, and kind of talk about it a little bit more, and really assess the damage and what we're gonna do with this thing. Because the way it sits, it's pretty much scrap metal. As much that is wrong with it. Like, I feel like I literally have to rebuild this whole thing all over again. So we'll start with the most expensive problems I got going on. I ripped the wheel off, and my assumption here, now mind you, everything was absolutely brand new on this besides the tie rod ends that goes from knuckle to knuckle, which it's not there, we had to cut it off. So they said they saw the tie rod snap off, the lower ball joint pretty much exploded, in which return the knuckle came off of the upper one, which was attached to the wheel, where the rotor, the brake caliper, so it ripped all that off, ripped the stainless steel braided line, just ripped it all off. On the way out, I had no brakes, so I ended up sliding into the guy that was pulling me. We damaged that, not the end of the world, you can get replacements. The hood, it really sucks because it wasn't kinked. Had none of this damage here. It's a nice hood. It's pretty much screwed now. We caught on fire once, which wasn't on the video, and just literally the first 10 minutes that we were there on Saturday, it started blowing transmission fluid out of the dipstick. And we're not sure if that was caused by a plug cooler or not, because we did check the vent lines on the transmission and they were perfectly fine. So we rigged up this hose in order to get the fluid that was blowing out away from the headers, because that's what actually caught on fire. Got super lucky, didn't burn any wires. We got it out with fire extinguishers right away, luckily. The end of the day, the transmission started slipping and you could literally hear the fluid boiling in the thing. So I don't know if the trans is messed up now or not, but I did notice that the transmission fluid is now black. The odds of that being good, I don't have high hopes. I'm assuming that the log we had underneath the axle to get this out came up and like gouged the door, which, yet again, not the end of the world. I probably have 8 of these doors laying in the backyard. Didn't get caught on camera, but we hit one tree, which I will take the blame for that. I wasn't looking when I was backing up, and I backed right into a tree, just tapped it and just shattered the taillight housing. Another one, we're going down a hill and must have caught a tree and bent that out. Not the end of the world, because I didn't want the bumpers on anyways. I want to do like really slim, tucked up high bumpers for ground clearance and actually trim some of this out right here. So that wasn't the end of the world. We did slide into a hill and put a dent in the door, which a real easy trick is shove like a basketball or football in there and air it up, and you can usually pop these dents out. It didn't like crease the paint or nothing like that. It just kind of like oil canned it in. So we should be able to pop that out. Not too worried, but this wasn't a perfect door. Like, nothing is perfect. There's rust on it. I mean, there's stuff all over that's got problems with this door. So at the time of pulling it out, the door striker ripped from the body. So now the door doesn't like actually lock. So that will have to get fixed. We did overheat the power steering fluid once. We noticed at the very end of the first day, it was almost like the power steering pumps were going out on not just mine, but also my buddy Cody's. And they're kind of whining and acting weird, but the fluid was like perfectly full. It wasn't low in fluid or nothing. And turns out a lot of the off-road guys actually run power steering coolers on them. And I mean, I suppose it makes sense. You're really working these front ends, especially where we were crawling over rocks, climbing up and down the hills, and just, I mean, turning non-stop for 6-7 hours straight. So other than that, the last bit of damage, which 4 years ago when I planned on doing this LS swap, I bought a brand new gas tank for it because I want to do an in-tank fuel pump versus external, mainly for the reason of reliability factor. The external ones, I've really never had an issue with them. I always keep a spare just in case, but I've never had one go out in the 4 years I've been running LS swaps. So with that being said, we have a skid plate below the gas tank here. And I know it hit a couple times, not hard, but I think it finally pushed through the rust in the bottom of the tank. And it has always like seeped a little bit, but now it's got like a pretty steady drip coming out of it. So we're definitely gonna have to throw that new gas tank in and convert it over to an in-tank fuel pump now, which was always part of the plan. I just didn't expect to be doing all of this at one given time. I was hoping, you know, hey, we'll upgrade the fuel tank and pump now, but no, I pretty much have to rebuild this whole thing. Yeah, that's majority of the damage. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of clean it out from the camping weekend. I haven't even unpacked nothing out of here yet. Get my tools out and get everything reorganized, and then get this fuel tank out first because it's smelling up my shop, smelling up my office, giving me a headache, and I'm tired of it. So let's get this done. Well, pretty much got everything out. Need to get the vacuum and just vacuum all this mud out. I swear I had a small house in this. All this here was in the back of the Jimmy. Here's kind of what broke. Brake line. Broke the axle, shattered the U-joint. I think this was the culprit. The tie rod ends were about the only thing that I didn't replace on the front end, and it looks like it popped out there. It snapped the lower ball joint, which, I mean, it was brand new. Pulled the one out of the top, and here's where it snapped the U-joint completely off. Huh. It honestly, oh, there's the rest of the tie rod. The knuckle's honestly probably fine, but I'm not gonna run this knuckle just because this happened. You know, maybe somebody's replaced this a bunch of times and it just, the press fit wasn't there like it's supposed to be. Who knows what actually happened that day. Got everything out. I'll worry about vacuuming it at a later date once it's actually driving again. Let's get this gas tank out. Apparently I need to remove the bumper to access the bolts on our skid plate that's covering our gas tank. It's going well. Any minute now it's gonna snap. Not gonna have to go to the gym tonight for arms. It's gonna spin in the, these are carriage bolts, so they're square on this end. You're supposed to use the bumper to help hold them. It's just rounding them. I might get lucky. Probably not. There it went. Snapped right off. Just need to do that 5 more times. We can get this pulled off. There we go. Unhook our license plate light. Bumper is off. Look at the chunks of mud that are in this. This is like 5 pounds. We can finally access all 6 bolts now. The bumper's off. And it's kind of nice. I can kind of visually see how I'm going to mount my aftermarket bumper that I'm going to build as well. But in the meantime, let's get this guard off so we can see how much damage got on the tank. Honestly, doesn't look too bad. I think it rusted where the 2 straps hold it up. So it's clearly damp, but honestly, it doesn't look terrible. right where the straps are, you can almost see fuel squeezing out of, oh, whatever. They just got rubber protectors on there so the straps aren't metal on metal to the gas tank. I'm assuming it's leaking on there. Now I need to disconnect our filler neck and the fuel lines going to the tank and figure out the best way to get this down. Well, I shoved a screwdriver in it, the lowest corner, so hopefully we can save majority of this fuel, because I probably got $70 worth of gas in there. We'll just pour that back into our brand new tank. It's like I could predict the future. We got a brand new tank, brand new straps, seal. I actually have the sending unit that drops in with a LS in-tank pump now, so we can convert all that over to have it in there, which will be much more reliable. And hopefully we don't have to worry about that for a long time. So I'm gonna let this drain out. I just went ahead, took the Sawzall, cut this strap off. I actually found the hole that it was leaking from is right here. So once this is all drained out, I'll just cut that. The tank should fall down. I already got the fuel supply line and return line unhooked. I got the filler neck pretty much undone there. I just cut the hoses. They're so old that it probably wouldn't hurt to just get everything new under this. So a little bit more peace of mind. Let this drain and we'll get her out. I had almost a full tank of gas still, even after wheeling for 2 days straight. Impressive. Alrighty, that'd be that. She's out. I'm gonna get this outside and see if we can't get the new tank up in here. Alright, we almost have our gas tank all together. I just went and got new hoses for this, got our new gasket and pickup. Last step is essentially throwing some rubber protectant on our fuel tank straps, as well as maybe the corners of the tank where it could potentially rub. Can't say I've ever done this before, but this stuff was super cheap on Amazon, and I don't want to have issues with this again, so we're going to try and do it the right way. So luckily it's got 3M tape on the back side. We'll just lay it out here, measure, cut. She should be good to go, so let's knock that out. All right, let's see if we can't wiggle this up in here by myself. Where are you stuck on? Whew. Oh. Crap. I wonder. Oh no. I forgot to cut the 2 bolts because I just cut the straps off to get the old ones out. Oh, she might hang there. Oh. Whew. Got it. Alrighty, now just waiting for a couple of parts to get powder coated, like our filler neck extenders, our filler neck extension tubes. Get those coated, and we can actually hook up the spout to pour fuel in this. Then it's just a matter of hooking up our supply or return line or vent line and our fuel sending unit. So yeah, piece of cake. I think we're gonna move on to the knuckle for right now. Try to get this thing back on the wheels. We moved up to the front here. I'm gonna try. The whole axle tube is packed full of clay. Hopefully it didn't go too far into where the gears are. Oh my God, this whole axle tube is full of dirt. Probably gonna have to change the gear oil again for the third time. Unless I might get lucky and just be able to, I don't know, shove a vacuum hose in here or something. Making some progress. We got the new knuckle on, we got the brake caliper back on, back in plate. I got the first nut locked down and torqued. Now we just gotta slide on the spacer, then the outer nut, and we can slide in our hub to finally get this assembled back together. You might say, why didn't you clean all that off? Well, I will. As well as the rest of this thing's getting power washed as soon as it can roll out of the shop. I just don't want to get water all over in my shop right here since I don't have a floor drain. And we're not gonna get too particular on this anymore because we got big plans for this front end. Yeah, I don't like that, and I don't like that. It's all getting changed this winter, but for the meantime, I still want to be able to drive this thing to the shop and back and, you know, enjoy it a little bit before snow flies. And that will give us time to get everything in for a complete front end rebuild, change, modifications, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and slap the locking hub back in, get the wheel back on this thing, and then we can move on to the tie rod that I cut in half the day we broke all this because it was getting bound up, which it was bent already from the start, but luckily I got 4 of these axles sitting around the shop, so we'll just throw another used one on. That is also getting all changed in the future because we are switching from the factory GM drag link over there. Basically it goes from the gearbox down to the driver's knuckle to a Y-link, and that will take it from a 2-wheel drive gearbox all the way to the passenger side. And what that's going to entail is when we're fully locked in and we are flexing this thing, that we should still be able to get full crank to crank when turning this while off-roading. Right now, I can't remember if it's this side or that side, but when one end drops, your drag link gets significantly shorter and you lose a lot of turning radius. Especially with the mini spool, I lost all kinds of turning radius. And I wasn't joking when I said I literally had like 10 degrees of turning radius. It was awful. I had to unlock one wheel to turn this. Mini spool, I just, you know, you live and you learn. I didn't understand quite. I thought I was getting a lunchbox locker. I ended up getting a mini spool. So they work great for truck pulling. If you're just going straight 300 feet, unlock the hubs, drives like normal. Even this, like if I have the hubs unlocked and I go back out in the interstate, do 70, turn in through town, the mini spool didn't affect it. But once it's locked in, especially the Dana 44, you better hope you're pointed straight because one, pretty sure I shattered the passenger U-joint on the axle shaft the first time I started turning with the mini spool. I could hear it clunking over here. So not ideal locker for the front end if you're off-roading. We will be switching to an aux locker because I also have nerves about running air locker as well as an electronic actuated locker. This thing is old school, it's simple, other than the LS motor in it, but that's a motor that you can almost get parts for anywhere. When you go to an air locker or an electric locker, something goes on and you can't lock the front end and get out of where you're at, where are you going to get parts for something like that? So that's where I'm moving on to an aux locker because it's manually actuated. I can have a shifter with a cable. And one really good benefit that I like about the aux lockers, let's say the cable breaks 10 years down the road, I just forget about it. You actually you can get a pin that you can keep in your glove box or whatever, and you can go on the front axle and manually slide the pin in or whatever, however it works, to lock that in if need be. So I think that's the way I want to go with this. I want simple, reliable, and, you know, ease of operation, essentially. So that being said, let's slap this together, get the tie rod back in, get the tire on, and we should be back on all fours. We are down to the brakes on this thing. Doesn't look like there's any good way to route this. If I go over the spring, it's gonna rub on the spring when the springs move. If I go under the spring, we risk catching it on a tree branch or a log, which we definitely don't want. Well, maybe this might be my best option here. Do it like this. All right, so I got these little metal tabs here that slide over this, and I think I'm gonna try and tuck it up as close as possible and give it a loop, like so. It's still on the back of the axle, but we're not hanging down. We're not rubbing it on the leaf springs, and we should be able to route a hard line kind of through our shock and prevent this from hopefully catching anything. I think that's my best option. So let's get the grinder, clean this frame up a little bit here, and we can get this metal tab welded to the axle to hold this. This should work. Rear brakes are finally finished up. We got the new line running all the way to this divider. This line honestly seems fine that goes to the proportioning valve, so for right now I'm not going to mess with it. The next piece I have to do is finish hooking up the hose that ripped off on the passenger side, and once we get that up there, we can finally bleed some brakes. Got the compressor building up air. Went ahead and I filled our master cylinder with some fresh brake fluid. Luckily the entire system is drained now at this point, so should have all new fluid in it. And we're about to break out one of my all-time favorite shop tools for working on brakes. This thing right here, I don't know how much they cost nowadays, but I bought this off the Mac Tools truck for like probably 60 or 80 bucks, maybe 100, I don't know. But if you do brakes by yourself, this thing is a lifesaver. Just hook compressed air onto it, clip that onto your bleeder valve, and just crack the bleeder and wait till the air bubble stops, shut it down, and move on to your next tire. And you are done, and you will have one of the best feeling brake pedals ever. Like, this thing is much better than just pumping the pedal, having your buddy open up the bleed screw. Obviously that gets the job done, but too many times I'm doing brakes by myself because, let's be honest, nobody wants to bleed brakes. Not even me. So here we are. There we go. We got our hose, got the bleeder valve open. And basically, that's just pulling air. And I like to route it upwards. I feel like that helps get the air out of it and keep that full of fluid. One thing you want to do is make sure that master cylinder doesn't run dry. So we'll go give that a check. And it's going to take a hot minute for, I just kicked that off, for all the fluid to get all the way back, because these entire lines are brand new at this point, and it is already dropping significantly. And you can almost watch it go down. Look how fast it's already draining. It does a pretty quick job for bleeding brakes. And one nice thing is that it's got that canister on it, so you can reuse the brake fluid, especially if you put in clean stuff in it. We're just going to be pumping clean brake fluid in it. Once we get all the air out and fluid in that line, we can come back and just dump that right back in the master cylinder. So works out pretty nice. I'm going to top this off one more time and we'll go check, see if we're getting any fluid out back yet. Yep, we got some coming in, lots of air. You should start to see a steady flow of brake fluid, and once you get to that point, I'll close it down and, you know, start from the farthest wheelway, work your way back, and sometimes I might, you know, get the air out, get this one out, and go hit the brake pedal a couple times. I just like to make sure I got really good brakes. Well, She made it out of the shop. Still doesn't turn. It's almost like it won't unlock from four-wheel drive for some reason. So we're gonna have to look at that. I also gotta put the hub in that one side that broke off yet. Seems like the axle is tilted down and the hub won't slide on. And I've tried prying it up, tried pulling it in and out to see if it would pop up, and not having any luck with that. So that's what I'm talking about. This should slide in there, and it's like that axle shaft is pointing down for some reason. Might need to get on the back side with a pry bar and try and pry it maybe out. Maybe that would help. But good news, doesn't look like we got any brakes leaking. That's just from bleeding them. Brakes work really well compared to how they've always been. So I'm happy about that. Time will tell once I go down the road if changing that proportioning valve only will be good enough for running disc brakes. But so far it seems like it rolls fine out in the gravel. It's not like it's struggling to move, and we got super lucky. The fluid in the transmission actually looks just fine. Was concerned about the fluid that was in the overflow bottle that we rigged up because it was like black. What the deal is there, I'm gonna change it for sure. Plus I need to throw a new pan gasket on because it's leaking. But I really just wanted to top the fluid off and make sure the trans moves in all gears, and it seems perfectly fine. As far as moving around the driveway, you know, if I take it out on the highway and it doesn't shift into third or something, then we got some problems. So yeah, that being said, I'm gonna top off the trans fluid, hook that overflow hose up just in case. We need to get that hub in and try and make sure this thing's unlocked from four-wheel drive. It's struggling to steer right now, so we have other problems. Let's pull her back in and see. All right, we're getting close to making this thing officially driving again. And if you don't know, I run a powder coating shop, kind of my main business. But my guys knocked out the skid plate for my gas tank yesterday afternoon, and I'm just seeing it this morning. It looks so good. So I kind of want to do like a tan, beige, and satin black on everything underneath. You know, I play that game of I want it to off-road, I want it to look nice. So I'll make them look nice, and then they get beat up, kind of the way it goes when you're off-roading. But man, I think those two colors are gonna look good. But check, it's just got like that, I want to be a show vehicle, but it's not too flashy when you're standing back. It just looks like a nice, clean, you know, fresh new piece under there. So I think that's gonna look good, especially with some satin black against it. I think is gonna look super nice. I'm gonna throw that on real quick just because I kind of want to see it under there, even though you're really never gonna see it, but that's life. There we go. The side's a little tight. At some point we need to change up the wiring. I'd like to get that tucked up more, but yeah, didn't even scratch her. Looks good under there. Never see it again because it's probably covered in mud. I want to fix this issue we got here. I don't know how this happened, but she is a little bent. So my idea, so I'm gonna clean up this around here, use the pry bar, straighten this back out, and try and weld this. Smooth it out, make it look as nice as I can. And hopefully that's fine without like having to cut out this whole thing. So that way my door will shut, because currently I can't drive down the road because the door flies open. So let's see what happens here. Fixed. And if you like watching this thing get built, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We got big plans for this winter. One including a Dana 60 front axle, a 4L80, as well as the possibility of running a dual transfer case setup, and really make this thing just one ultimate beast for going down the road and going off-roading. See you guys next time. Fixed.